Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start today's video with a story about a couple's first utility bill scare and the nosy neighbors who thought their outdoor faucet was a public service. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Found out our neighbors were stealing water. Their excuse? It's only 3 cents. My wife and I just moved into a duplex last month after years of living in apartments. We've always had our utilities rolled into rent before, so now having to pay for water, sewer, and garbage separately feels like one of those welcome to adulthood bills I'm not exactly excited about. The utility bill comes every 2 months, and we haven't even seen our first one yet, but given how much we're still getting settled in, I'm already bracing for the number. The property has a detached garage at the front of the lot. On that garage are 2 outdoor faucets, one on our side and one on our neighbor's side. When we moved in, there was already a hose hooked up to ours. I figured the previous tenants left it, so I bought myself a nozzle and called it good. A couple of weeks ago, I started noticing that our neighbor's wife, let's call her Linda, would use our hose multiple times a week. Sometimes she was watering the little garden strip out front, sometimes she was rinsing things off. It wasn't a huge deal at first, but after the 3rd or 4th time I caught her using it, I started to wonder whose water meter it was hooked up to. This afternoon, I was out in the garage building a shelf when Linda walked by. I figured, perfect chance to ask. "Hey, quick question," I said. "Do you know if that faucet's connected to our meter or yours?" She tilted her head, smiled in that tight way people do when they don't want to answer something, and said, "I'm not sure, I'll have to ask my husband." A few minutes later, her husband, we'll call him Bob, came out looking mildly irritated. "What's the problem?" he asked. "No problem," I said, keeping my voice friendly. "Just wondering whose meter that faucet's on." "Well," he said, "we can check by turning off your valve and seeing if the water stops. But you're the first neighbor who's ever made a big deal about it. My wife only uses it to water the lawn." Before I could respond, Linda piped up from behind him, "And wash shoes a few times a week?" Bob turned to her and snapped, "No, you don't. You never wash shoes." I just stood there trying not to laugh because 10 minutes earlier I had literally seen her hosing off sneakers. We shut the valve and, surprise, the water stopped. It was on our meter. "So is that hose yours?" I asked. "Yeah," Bob said. "You want me to move it over to my faucet?" "Yes, please." That's when the grumbling started. "Oh, okay, so we're going to be strict about things now," he muttered. "She only uses, 3 cents worth of water? I was even going to let you borrow my power washer to clean your car, but I guess not now." I just nodded, not taking the bait. Bob started trying to unscrew the hose, but apparently it was welded on by the rust gods because it wouldn't budge. He went back inside for a wrench. While he was gone, I figured I'd give it a try. It moved easily this time. I'll give him credit for loosening it. So I took my nozzle off, switched the hose to his faucet, and put my nozzle back where it belonged. When Bob came back, he saw it was done and just gave me a tight nod. Then, as if nothing had happened, he started chatting about how we should put a "Smile, you're on camera" sticker on our yard gate to deter dog walkers from letting their pets go in the front lawn. "Sure," I said, because why not? I slapped the sticker on later that day. But the whole exchange stuck with me. Here's the thing. I wouldn't have cared if they'd asked from the start. If they needed to water something occasionally, fine. But hiding it, lying about it, and then acting like I'm the bad guy for not wanting to pay their water bill? Nah. So after dinner, I made sure our faucet now has a shiny new lockable cover on it. And just for good measure, I ordered a water meter reader off Amazon so I can see exactly what's going out. If my first bill comes in high, I'll know whether Bob and Linda were using 3 cents worth or if that was just another load of garden hose BS. Next time Linda wants to wash her shoes, she can do it on her own dime. Funny how the neighbor claims that it's no big deal to use your water, but he makes it a big deal. If it was such a minor issue, he would have moved the hose to his faucet without being passive-aggressive about it. And our second story. My name is Dan. I defeated Karen. My name's Dan. In the 90s, I was a freelancer, the kind of guy who rewrote landing pages in Perl and PHP, patched creaky access databases, and duct-taped APIs to anything that'd hold, as long as the check cleared. By 2001, I was burned out on contract life and took my first real job at a startup called Brass Lantern. The owner was a guy named Nick. Receding hairline, thick jaw, MMA t-shirts. Picture Joe Rogan if he were taller and built like a refrigerator. He loved to say, "I'm the strategist and the accountant and the marketer. Code? That's just details." I'd smile and point at the monitor. "These details, if we don't throttle transaction locks right now, a correspondent bank is going to wake up and eat your margin." "Relax," he said, cracking his knuckles. "It's under control." Under control meant he kept a color-coded Excel sheet while everything technical, from servers to build scripts, sat on my shoulders. In a year, we shipped a full payments integration platform for small e-commerce shops, SDK, gateways, reconciliations, risk scores, the works. Back in my freelancer days, my contract with Brass Lantern had a clause: until the company bought the code or signed a proper work for hire, the core remained mine. They got a license. Nobody cared at the time. We were tiny, cash flow was wobbly, their savings account was basically a hole in the ground. Nick would say, "We'll paper it later." We didn't. In 2003, we finally turned a profit. They put me on payroll, but I didn't rush to rewrite the IP language. We agreed the old agreements lived alongside the new ones. Anything I'd built before going full-time stayed mine until a buyout. I wasn't hoarding, I wanted clean paperwork. Nick, meanwhile, believed he was the center of the universe. Then the universe added a new son, Karen. Karen was tall, always in heels, with a bleached platinum mane and a look that said you'd owed her money since kindergarten. Nick folded fast. Coffee dates, jewelry, weekends in Vegas. After the wedding, he installed her as HR. "We're a family business," Nick said, dropping a folder on my desk. "Karen's going to bring order." Order meant she hired 3 of her friends as receptionists, but really they were her personal concierges. The office started smelling like hair balm and running like a Warhammer chaos god had taken over. Contradictory instructions, meetings rescheduled after they'd already happened, client emails sent in her syrupy corporate voice. One afternoon, she stopped me in the hall, acrylic nails tapping on a clipboard. "Dan set it up so I get reports with everyone's passwords. HR needs to see everything." "No," I said, "that violates basic security. I'll put in SSO and role-based access, but you're not getting passwords." She winked. "You're the programmer, not a politician. Be useful." She treated people like furniture. "You," she'd say to a tester, "go grab me a coffee. Almond milk, not hot." "I'm QA, not a barista," he'd say. "Then you can QA the temperature," Karen would chirp. I pulled Nick aside to say the company was turning into a one-woman show plus her friends. He laughed. "You don't get people management. Karen's a natural leader." Then my mom got sick. Not the sniffles, real expensive treatment sick. I ran the math. I needed a raise or a bonus. I was carrying the architecture, the DevOps, even some of the bank negotiations. I went in with some uptime metrics, MRR growth, customer case studies that came in on my code. Nick stared over his laptop and said, "There's no budget." "Nick," I exhaled, "we just blew the January marketing budget. We can trim there," and no budget. A week later, an email landed in my inbox. "Payroll January, final XLSX." HR sent it, a.k.a. Karen. Probably fat-fingered the mailing list. I don't snoop on salaries, but mine was in there too. A line item reads, "Karen, HR Director, base plus special contribution." The special beat my salary. The person who told me to fetch coffee made more money than the guy holding the platform together. I sat alone in the office kitchen, rolling a plastic spoon between my fingers while one thought clicked into place. My mom needs treatment. I helped build this business, and I'm being told no budget? I texted an old contact at a competitor, CirrusPay. He replied in seconds, "Come by. Today works. We've been waiting for you." Next morning, I walked into Nick's office. "I need a raise," I said evenly, "or I walk." "No budget," he said from muscle memory. "Got it," I nodded. "Then I walk." "Hey, don't be dramatic," he squinted. "We can talk next quarter." "I don't have a quarter." Karen, twirling a lock of hair beside him, couldn't help herself. "Dan, you're a good guy. Don't make us counter." "You'll stay if we bump you?" She glanced down at her paper. 5%? "No," I said. "Today's my last day as an employee. Tomorrow I'll be a minimal contractor. After that, I'm gone." I left. No yelling, no door slam. I reclaimed access to my private repos with the core SDK, revoked temporary tokens, shut down my personal CI, and deleted drafts and specs that lived in my personal account. Nothing illegal. The company's code stayed put. but next week's release ran on my scripts and integrations. Those weren't theirs anymore. You can't do this, Karen shrieked over the phone. This is sabotage. It's my property, I said. Your CRM has every contract in black and white. License, not assignment. I'm not the one who skipped the legal homework. She sputtered and hung up. A week later, I was at CirrusPay, new laptop, real tests, sane sprints. The health insurance kicked in and my mom started treatment. For the first time in years, I exhaled. A month passed. Monday morning, my phone rang. It was Nick. He sounded washed out. Dan, we have a problem, he said. A big one. Congratulations, I said. What kind? Legal says we don't own most of the core. It's licensed to us personally. And the license, he swallowed, was revoked. Without it, well, you know. How much revenue rides on that core, I asked, already knowing. North of 80%, he breathed. There you go, I said, sliding my coffee away from the keyboard. So what are you asking me? Come back. Please, tell me what it takes. It took back then, I said. Now I'm not interested. I still had friends inside, Mike in QA, Jess in support. It's a 5-alarm fire, they messaged. Karen's screaming. Her friends are asking how to move the deadline. The bank's in a panic. Customers were stuck on hold. Postings delayed. Their back end failing validation. 2 days later, Nick showed up at the cafe across from my new office. Shoulders sagging, standing in the doorway like he'd just gone 12 rounds. Sit, I pointed at a chair. I was wrong, he said to the tabletop, about everything. Pay, Karen, I need the code back. Name a number. I thought about my mom and years of treatment ahead, about those sleepless nights in 2002 when I built two-phase bank auth from scratch, mixing SOAP and raw sockets because there was no decent SDK. About every time he called my work details. $2 million, I said. He didn't look up. You're joking. No, it's fair. $2 million and I sign the assignment, then give you a month of paid support so the transition doesn't collapse. After that, take the shirt off my back if you want. The code will be yours. For real. For the first time. He raised his head. I watched the math run across his face. The beach house bill, the already ordered pool, that architect's binder he'd showed me for months. The scaffolding collapsed behind his eyes. Okay, he said, voice flat. Deal. A week later, we met in a law office. Karen stormed in like weather, heels hammering the floor. What's going on? Her voice was stretched, sugar sweet. Nick, honey, you're not letting this coder extort us for millions, are you? I turned to her with a folder. Here's a scrapbook of your HR excellence, open offers you never closed, missing NDAs, and my favorite emails demanding everyone's passwords. I would have kept quiet, but you're yelling. This deal's clean. You pay and it's over, or I don't sell you what you never owned. She stuffed the fury into a smile. We'll talk later. We talked with a wire transfer, $2 million. I signed the assignment, documented deployment, trained their new DevOps, and got them stable. Then I took my mom to the clinic that could take her whole treatment plan seriously. Brass Lantern moved on to Act 2. Dude, Mike messaged a month later, Dreamhouse is off. Nick canceled the contractors, Karen screaming that he ruined our lifestyle. And then, I asked? Then it got daytime TV, he wrote. Backed into a corner, Nick hired a private investigator. Karen said she was heading to deep tissue stress therapy. 2 hours later, the photo showed a different kind of therapy. Hotel room, her ring on the table, a guy with a six-pack and a dragon tattoo, champagne on ice. It was pure talk show. Nick went white as chalk, Jess wrote. No yelling. He slid her a folder, said, my attorney will call, and walked out. She didn't show the next day, or the next. Officially on leave. Within a month, Karen was out. Resigned on paper. Everyone knew. Her friends lingered. 3 months here, 6 months there, until real metrics snuffed the fairy dust. Unanswered tickets, fleeing clients, contract errors. Nick suddenly remembered HR wasn't coffee and manicures at the front desk. He walks like he just got out of sparring, Mike said. Quiet. Fewer fighter tees. He's asking real questions. Maybe he'll learn, I texted back. Late, but still. By year's end, a bigger payments company bought Brass Lantern. I don't know the terms. I was already building something cleaner, bigger. On a farewell call, I heard laughter and a couple of, remember when Karen demanded the passwords? I remember. I also remember the soft scratch of a pen when Nick signed the last page of the assignment. It sounded like a ship finally slipping the rope that had kept it tied to someone else's ego. One evening, Nick texted, "I was a jerk. Thanks for leaving things stable after the sale. How's your mom?" "She's in treatment," I wrote back. "Doing better. Thanks for asking." He didn't reply. That was fine. My happy ending was humble: a new laptop, a head without a permanent no-budget siren, my mom's warm hands after a tough procedure, and her, "Why so serious? It's okay now." And the private laugh I still get remembering Karen trying to bring order to a world that runs on logic, contracts, and accountability. Revenge wasn't fireworks, it was math. In 2001, I joined a startup that loved to call itself family. In 2004, I walked out with clean documents and boundaries. In 2005, I cashed a $2 million check for what I'd built with my own hands. Karen, the tall, loud blonde with pastel plans for other people's money, spun out of orbit. Gravity returned to where it belongs: work, competence, and signed, sane agreements. As for Brass Lantern, a bigger fish swallowed it, but that's a different story. I think this can be considered a technical victory over Karen, but what a crushing defeat it was. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.